about meaning, and well, this is the focus of my whole work throughout all my academic career. I think beginning from my student years, the idea of meaning was something quite fascinating, and when I was preparing my PhD work, I found about over 20 different views and theories of meaning by the time in 1980s, and all of them were absolutely unrelated to each other, very few cross-references, and I had an idea of trying to make ends meet regarding as refers to meaning. And I was happy enough to meet personally Viktor Frankl, who visited Moscow in 1986, and visited Moscow State University. And at that time I was the only person at the university who had read Frankl's books before, and I translated his lectures, and we had some relationships. I visited him in Vienna, and he visited me once more in Moscow, and this also was extremely important for my professional development, because he was a man of a great scale, and still the issue of meaning is by now it's not the only focus of my work, but still is one of the important focuses. And you see, by the time in 1980s and 90s, in psychology, the issue of meaning was not a fashion. No one could talk about meaning at international conferences, and the situation changed after millennium. I already mentioned the conferences organized in Canada by Paul Wong, beginning with the conference of 2000, which will be for the next millennium, that then succeeded every 2 years, and by the time the problem of meaning was made legitimate again thanks to Martin Seligman, who announced it as an important issue for positive psychology, and then people became again interested in this issue. And this is the picture of what one of the top experts in this field, Tatiana Schnell from the University of Innsbruck, calls existential turn. This is just the statistics of corresponding keywords in the databases, journal databases for different periods of time. All publications on moral and spirituality, and publications with the keyword meaning. So you see that the growth of interest to the problem of meaning started with the 1980s and had a huge boost after 2000, and the publications on moral and spirituality also boosted somewhat less and somewhat later, but meaning, well, it's really something very special that is going on with the issue of meaning. And through 1980s till 2010, probably only 3 major books in English academic literature appeared through those periods that dealt with the issue of personal meaning. All 3 have 4 books essentially during that time, but here all of them are listed. But during the recent decade, only through 2012 to 2015, 6 books in academic publishers, including APA, trends have appeared that are dealing with the issue of meaning, and now it's keep accelerating. The same with measurement scales that started from a single scale purpose in life test by Kronberg and then the number of different scales was also growing as quickly and drastically as the number of publications with corresponding keywords. So Brandstetter and others counted over 59 instruments by 2012, 48 of them nomothetic, that's psychometric scores, and 11 ideographic, that's content related ones. So you see how this problem is growing and getting to the center of all the, is becoming the central one. But the problem is how to understand meaning. What is meaning? Because meaning is a very complicated thing, and it's quite a variable of quite a different order than most of the other variables studied in the mainstream academic psychology. Usually we ask people about the meaning of their life and get some answers, assuming that first that people have some common conceptions of meaning and they are able to assess their degree of having meaning. But in fact, they understand it in an absolutely different way. When we ask them about the meaning of their life, everyone has a different idea of what we are asking about, and answers corresponding. And so everyone defines first for himself or herself what is meaning, and then gives the answer. So we have no scientific basis to assume that there is a common understanding, and so we are dealing often with semantic artifacts. Not to mention that there are huge linguistic differences. I can again refer to differences in different languages because, the concept of meaning is equity appeared first of all in German-speaking works by German-speaking authors, because there is in German language the distinction of two different things that are merged in an English word meaning. Germans call it Sinn and Bedeutung. Bedeutung, it's the cultural meaning you can find in a dictionary. To find the meaning of a word, you look at the dictionary and find what does it mean, and that's what Germans call Bedeutung, cultural meaning, common cultural meaning. And another word that German calls Sinn. This is this word corresponds to personal meaning, spiritual meaning, more individual, that cannot be deducted from a dictionary, that is related to the life context. So linguistic differences are also important. So we have, as regards meaning, our situation reminds the famous tale about blind men who were trying to make sense of an elephant. What is an elephant? And all of them were just sensing different parts of an elephant and generalized those parts for the whole creation. And so, as one of them who was holding an elephant's ear was saying it's a fan, the one who was holding an elephant's back was saying it's a wall. So you see it's a tree, it's a rope, it's a snake. You see the different views on what is elephant. What is meaning? Is it feeling? Yes, and not only this. Is it cognitive interpretation, cognitive appraisal? Yes, but not only this. Is it balance? Yes, but not only this. Is it incentive? Yes, but not only this. Is it value? Yes, but not only this. So meaning is a quite complicated thing, and a wonderful metaphor. So to come to more literary examples and metaphors that help us to understand what is meaning. I would refer to Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Last week I was giving a workshop at Meaning conference in Vancouver about Saint-Exupéry as the case of his existential courage and meaning, about his philosophy and his life. Well, and this wonderful metaphor, a divine not holding things together. And a quotation that I took, that I have chosen as an epigraph to my big book on the psychology of personal meaning that appeared in 1999. Was my habilitation work, 500 pages, and as an epigraph to the whole book was this quotation from Saint-Exupéry, from his prominent book that until now there is no complete English translation of it, this posthumous book, Citadel, in the genre of a testament of a secular religion, a huge book that contains wisdom, and there is only a short translation of this book, The Wisdom of the Sense, in English. Well, and for it's not the things that feed his spirit, but rather the links between the things. Not the diamond, but some relations between people and the diamond may feed him. Not the scent, but some relations established between the scent and the tribes. Not the words in the book, but some relations existing in the book between and beyond words. Relations that are love, poem, and Lord's wisdom. That's the most important thing about meaning, not relations, ties, links. So meaning is a link between the actual psychological phenomenon and its superordinate context, and context is a key word to understand what meaning is about. We cannot find meaning in anything if we can't find meaning if we put it into some context, and the context may vary, and the meanings will vary with the context. And today, why it has become more relevant today, and what has it to do with the emerging worldview? So it refers to the idea of an inner world, the idea of theological and historical content, rather than any objectively observable resources. It refers to the idea of connectedness and context dependence. It refers to the idea of systemic organization, self-regulation, auto-regulation, self-determination of human conduct, providing the interconnectedness of the elements beyond the vulgar association. In the mainstream psychology of the last century, it was the psychology of individuality, of the closed units, and its thesaurus included traits, states, distribution, behavior, cognition, and motion. No place for meaning in its thesaurus among these concepts. And this figure, this picture by Leonardo, famous picture, it shows just this individuality, a closed unit. Everything is in there. It has clear borders and no place for meaning. This picture of individuality. Then the psychological science grew, and still before the famous revolution, humanistic revolution and cognitive revolution of the 1960s, there was something that I called non-classical breakthrough. In late 1920s, early 1930s, some ideas, revolutionary ideas, new ideas appeared in psychology absolutely at the same time within the period of 5 or 7 years by absolutely different authors. The ideas and the concepts that were incompatible with the classical psychology as an objective science where human being could be studied in the same way as all other inanimate or living inanimate objects or even living creatures. But those ideas, they suggested why specific status of humans as the object of study could live in introduced the idea of Galilean mode of thinking, suggesting that it's not in the persons themselves the foundations, the traits or something that would explain the way they behave, but in the interaction between them. In the interaction they enter with each other. That's what the Galilean mode of thinking. Lev Vygotsky introduced the idea of social origins of mind, so we acquire a lot of contacts through learning, not just through learning, through taking from cultural objects and cultural artifacts the forms of activity and human experience embodied in them. So it's not natural growth, it's something taken from the socio-cultural environment. Mikhail Bakhtin introduced the idea of open-endedness of human consciousness. It's dialogical intentionality. Different minds are disclosing to each other and they exchange some contents. The essence of dialogue lies just in this versus closeness or separateness of human minds. Alfred Adler introduced the first to introduce the idea of teleology, goal-directedness of human actions. We need not ask why, we should ask what for. So, what is the goal of this, even as regards human symptoms, not to, every symptom serves some goal, not to mention other forms of behavior. Martin Heidegger and Ludwig Binswanger introduced the concept of life world, Lebenswelt, so with multi-dimensional life world, and my essence, the essence of me as a person, is in my world, the world not only in my environment, the physical surrounding, but also in my inner world and the dialogical world of what later has been called conversational space, the space between individuals that is neither purely objective nor purely subjective, it's some very special reality. And Pierre Janet introduced the idea of self-regulation and personality as an inner work. The essence of personality was inner work. So Pierre Janet, famous French psychologist, said, and it was against the idea of spontaneous growth. Well, and all those ideas made what I would call non-classical breakthrough, and they stayed marginal for many decades after this, but they created the space for alternative visions, alternative development of ideas, alternative to the behavioristic and dispositionalist mainstream. And so now we can speak of non-classical psychology of personality. You see this picture from Michelangelo creation of man, you see, so this is the idea of personality as open to the world, unlike just as it differs from the closed individuality, closed in its borders, the classical view. So personality in its non-classical understanding reaches out toward the world. So you see the difference. You see the picture. It's an open system, as Gordon Allport called it in his famous paper, Personality as an Open System, based on some developments of cybernetics and systems approach in the early 1960s. So the relevant concept now for the new vision and new approach are the concept of being in the world, called error detection, attribution, self-regulation or auto-regulation, very contingency, dialogue. It's all, they all refer not to something that is there, like dispositions, but as something that developed here and now in the actual space of interactions, interplay between human person and the world. So, regarding the problem of meaning, so a very important distinction in this context was the distinction of existential and ontological meaning. Alfred Langley introduced this important distinction. So, and essentially the first thinker who addressed to the issue of the meaning of life, theoretically, philosophically, was Lev Tolstoy. And in his famous Confessions, he described the story of his own search for meaning when he found himself in the middle of his life, absolutely wealthy and happy and self-realized, but still regularly comes the wish to shoot oneself. Why? The meaning has gone. He started seeking for meaning, and he described the story of his search for meaning, and he tried first to figure out what the meaning of life should be, and then to live up to it. And he failed several times. He wouldn't understand what is wrong. And then he found the conclusion, and in the conclusion of his book, he describes his discovery. First, that we cannot speak of the meaning of life in general. Only we can speak about the meaning of my own personal, individual life. And second, that meaning is a matter of real living rather than thinking it over. We cannot first try to intellectually find the meaning and then live up to it. No. First, says Tolstoy, we are to live in such a way that our life will be meaningful and not evil. And then, secondary, we may have a reason to make sense of it. So, actual being in the world, actual existence is primary to any attempt to make sense of it. The same would be true Frank. She has phrased this as the meaning of life is seeking the meaning of life. And you know this famous saying from classic Buddhism, if you meet Buddha on your way, kill him. Why so? Because the point is in seeking for Buddha, not in finding. If you find, if you claim to have found Buddha, that's not good. The point is in seeking. And that's the difference between existential and ontological meaning. Existential meaning is the meaning in the process of its search. Ontological meaning is the ready meaning. It can be given to you. You can read, well, in Holy Scripture, what should be the meaning of life, and you may claim that you know the truth, and so your life has meaning, and now you will kill everyone who disagrees with this meaning of your life, and you don't. And that's ontological meaning. It's something that possesses you rather than you possesses the meaning. So that's what I likely call ontological meaning. But real meaning as existential meaning is just living meaning in the process of what is going on now with you. There is one Buddhist tale when a European visitor came to see one great master, guru, and while waiting for him down there, when he will be free to talk with him, he asked the disciples sitting around there, what is the most important thing for your master, for your teacher? And one advanced student answered, the most important thing for him is what he is at this moment doing. I wrote 2 dissertations of meaning, and I came to only 2 universal characteristics of meaning that can be distinguished. First, intentionality, meaning points at something there in the world. Meaning is not there, meaning is not in me. It points at something in the world, but it's not just right there, it's something that connects me with something important in the world. And the second universal characteristics of meaning, context related. It's defined through a relation to a superordinate whole. To define meaning, we fail to catch meaning because it's not contained in what we study. It always transcends what we study. It's always behind and beyond what we study. So we cannot take it directly. And now this is what I call relational referential use on meaning. So if you use the computer analogy, so the most relevant computer metaphor for meaning would be hyperreference. It's just a connection of what is there here, but now with something far beyond and behind, with something different. So personal meaning again is a form of objective relation, a link between the person and the world, between the person and the meaning-making context, and the world is the subordinate context. And some authors who proposed this idea earlier was Joseph Newton, the prominent European psychologist, Roy Baumeister in his seminal book on the meaning of life. Well, and then continuing this tradition, Baumeister proposed the metaphor of a web for meaning, because meaning is a set of connections, a set of relationships, a set of threads. And I would propose still better. I would agree with Baumeister's principle, but another metaphor, Miserio, is still better by two reasons. First, because this set of threads is invisible. We can see the web, but we don't see the Miserio. It's underground, under the ground. And second, there are mushrooms that grow from that Miserio, and the illusion that these are the most important thing in this, and those pale threads, it's something we just clean them away, and are happy to have this mushroom. The same with meaning. When we see the meaning of something, when we catch it, we think that it's the most important thing, well, say the meaning of life. But in fact, what is the most important is this system of threads that link this object to all the world, essentially. So the idea of meaning is a kind of, well, it can be compared to an idea of a hologram, because in the meaning of any object for me, of any situation,